Hi, I'm Chad with Move for Guitar. This lesson is from our series, Music Theory for Guitar. In this lesson, we're going to take an in-depth look at the Lydian mode. First off, if you like the diagrams for everything in this series, including the diagrams for this lesson, you can download our free e-guide, Music Theory for Guitar. And this e-guide will be something that you can study and use as a reference for years to come. And like I said, it's free, so there's no reason not to just go download it. This is part 5.7 from our series, Music Theory for Guitar. If you'd like to go back and start at the beginning, you can click the link on the screen. So we've been going through each of the modes individually. We've gone through the first mode, which is the Ionian mode, which is also the major scale. We've gone through the second mode, which is the Dorian mode. And we've gone through the third mode, which is the Phrygian mode. Now we're on the fourth mode, the Lydian mode. And again, we're looking at everything in parallel, so we're keeping everything with the same root, and we're going to keep everything with the G root note. And the Lydian mode is another major mode. So the first mode was major, now your fourth mode is major as well, which you should remember from the chords lessons, because the one chord produced major, 2 was minor, 3 was minor, 4 is major as well. So your modes follow along. If you had major chords created, it would be a major mode. If you had minor chords created, it would be a minor mode. And as you remember, building chords off the fourth note of the major scale give you a major chord or a major 7 chord. So this is a major mode. So Lydian mode is easy to remember the intervals, because the only difference between the Lydian mode and the Ionian mode, the major scale, is that for the Lydian mode you raise the fourth up half a step to a sharp 4. So that's the only difference between Ionian and Lydian. So that gives you root, 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, 7, root. So the Ionian mode just has the natural 4, the Lydian mode has a sharp 4, which is the same as a sharp 11. And this sharp 4 is the unique characteristic of the Lydian mode. It's the only major scale mode that has a sharp 4 in it. The other two major modes have natural 4s, so it's really easy to recognize the Lydian mode because it has that sharp 4. And because of this sharp 4, it creates a brighter type of major sound than the Ionian mode. Since the Ionian mode has this natural 4, which is a half a step lower, it's not quite as bright of a sound as the Lydian mode. So the Lydian mode is your brightest major mode, which means that it's actually your brightest mode, which I mentioned in a previous lesson when I showed you the order of brightness for all the modes. And unlike Ionian, there's no avoid note. The avoid note in the Ionian was a 4, and that's because this created a dissonant interval between the 3 and the 4. Because that 4 is moved up half a step for the Lydian mode, that's not a dissonant interval anymore, not nearly as dissonant, because now you have a major second instead of a minor second. So this sharp 4 is not an avoid note like the natural 4 was in the Ionian mode. So you can land on any of these notes and not worry about it. Although the sharp 4 is going to be more dissonant than the other intervals, it's still not one that you have to really shy away from spending time landing on it. It doesn't need to resolve like a natural 4. And of course, just like always, your triad are your strongest tones, your root 3, 5, because those are the chord tones when you're playing over a major chord. And then if you're playing over a major 7, that's another chord tone, your major 7th interval. And again, your root 3, 5 are your most stable for landing on and spending time on, but they are the most vanilla. They're not going to add really any color to this mode. If you want to add color to this mode, it's really the sharp 4 that's going to set it apart from the Ionian mode. So if you want to really bring out the sound of the Lydian mode, you emphasize the sharp 4. And then again, just like always, take a major chord and play the scale over it. So if you're playing a G Lydian scale, take a G major chord, play each of the notes slowly over it just to scale up and down. Listen to what each of these intervals sounds like over the chord. Then do it with a major 7 chord, because that's the next chord that's built out of the Lydian mode. Listen to each of the intervals, how each one differs from each other. What are your most stable tones? What are weaker? What bring out the color? And then do it for all of the 4 chords that I talked to in the previous lesson, because the Lydian mode is the 4th mode. That means all the 4 chords are straight out of the Lydian mode, so you can use the Lydian scale, the Lydian mode, out over those chords. And then once you really have the sound in your head, again, just mix it up and try to create melodies. Just start improvising and soloing over those chords. And that's really going to help you learn how to solo or get better at it, and also really get the sounds of these modes in your head. And since Ionian and Lydian are the two major ones we've gone over so far, just take a G major chord to start with, play the Ionian mode over it, and then play the Lydian mode over it, and listen to the difference, and then do it with a G major 7 chord. Do the same thing, play the Ionian mode over it, and then play the Lydian mode over it, and it'll really help you hear the differences between those two modes. And again, that's why we're keeping everything in parallel, so that it's easier to hear the differences between the modes and the different colors they create. So now we've added the Lydian mode to this chart, the 4th mode, and the Lydian mode is root 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, 7, which, as you can see, the only difference between it and the major scale is the natural 4 of the Ionian mode is raised half a step to the sharp 4. But again, it's a major and a major 7, the exact same as what you get from Ionian. That's a triad in the 7th note. But with the Lydian, you don't have an avoid note because this sharp 4 is not nearly as dissonant as the natural 4, because the distances between the 3rd and the sharp 4 are a more consonant interval than the distance between the 3 and the natural 4. Your parent major scale is the 5, meaning if we were looking at this, this would be your whole step, half step. This is your major scale, which is your parent major scale, which if you're in the key of C Lydian, these notes would be G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp. So D is your parent major scale. D is the parent major scale of G Lydian. So if you're to start on D and count up to the 4th mode, D, E, F sharp, G. G is the 4th note of the D major scale, so that means building a mode off the 4th note gives you the Lydian mode, so G is the Lydian mode in the D major scale. And again, if you want to figure it out yourself, since Lydian is the 4th mode, you would count back from the root of Lydian, so 1 would be root, 2, 3, 4, that's where your parent major scale is. And then the unique characteristic of the Lydian mode, like I mentioned, is a major chord, a major mode, a major 7 chord with the sharp 4. It's the only one with the sharp 4. And because of that sharp 4, it creates a bright major sound, so it's brighter than the Ionian mode. And this mode is commonly used in jazz because of the sharp 4 being a more consonant interval, better than the natural 4. So if you get into jazz, this is a mode that will definitely be used a lot. But it's not the only type of genre that uses this, and diatonic harmony just automatically uses it. But if you're getting into more advanced music, there are other styles that use it a lot as well. So definitely get used to the Lydian mode. So here's this chart again. Now the Lydian mode is our root, so everything in the gray is the Lydian mode, the root of the Lydian mode. If you're looking at G Lydian, you would have G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G. The parent major scale is D in the tan because that's your 1. Everything's rearranged for the Lydian mode, so now it's whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step. And now again, you can easily just see the Lydian mode in all the keys. So that's the Lydian mode, which is the 4th mode of the major scale. Go ahead and move on to the next lesson where we're going to look at the 5th mode of the major scale, the Mixolydian mode. And be sure to download the e-guide. All these diagrams are in there. And be sure to subscribe because we had at least one new lesson every day.